Over the next 2 hours, I will be joined by some of the foremost military historians, academics, cavalry officers as we look back at the Battle of Haifa. 3 Indian regiments, the Mysore Lancers, the Jaipur Lancers, the Hyderabad Lancers, led what was probably one of the greatest cavalry charges of all times. Also, one of the last great cavalry charges. I want to start by getting you this ground report on the preparations at the battlefield in Haifa. India Today is the only channel to be reporting out of Haifa. Here's our first report this afternoon.
One of the oldest cities of Israel, nearly 2,000 years old, Haifa rests on the northern border of Israel. 150 kilometers from Jerusalem, this ancient city was the site of one of the most heroic battles that Indian soldiers have fought. It was in the Battle of Haifa in 1918 that a small Indian cavalry armed with lances took on the might of the Ottoman Empire, facing cannons and machine guns. The Indian soldiers routed the enemy and saved Israel from being run over by Turks. This sprawling cemetery in the center of Haifa bears proof of the heroism of this foreign land. The untouched graves and the inscriptions on them from 99 years ago commemorates the almost forgotten heroes of our nation. India Today visited the Haifa cemetery, which today proudly houses the hundreds of fallen Indian braves. And the heroic tale of how a handful of soldiers kept the mighty 400-year-old Ottoman Empire at bay.
We are in the Haifa cemetery of the Second World War. It was established in 1940 for the soldiers who were killed in the Second World War.
इजराइल शहर हाइफा को आजाद कराने में भी भारतीय सैनिकों की अहम भूमिका रही थी.
This faraway battle is forever immortalized in Delhi's most prominent roundabout, the Teen Murti Circle.
The Teen Murti Chowk, often misinterpreted as having connections with Mahatma Gandhi, are in fact a symbol of tribute to 3 famous Indian state forces who were part of the British Imperial Service cavalry during the First World War.
Forgotten in the annals of history, Indian soldiers will be remembered and given their rightful due. With Padmaja Joshi in Israel, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Jodhpur, Mysore and Hyderabad Lancers defeated the Turkish and the German troops in what was the last great cavalry charge, the last victory for the cavalry, horse-mounted bravehearts sweeping and saving Haifa. I want to go across to Padmaja Joshi. She's India Today's journalist on the ground as we see these live images from Haifa. Padmaja, good morning. A very somber day, but also this one chapter of Indian military history. It's been gathering dust for decades. That dust now being washed off. Tell us, what's the plan at Ground Zero at Haifa?
The plan right now is that the delegation with the Indian Prime Minister is on its way. Of course, they are going via a chopper. They are on board a chopper, and even as we speak, they're on their way to Haifa. Rahul, they're going to be, both the Prime Ministers are going to be there together, and they're going to be laying a wreath at the 2 separate grave areas for the Indian soldiers, the fallen Indian soldiers. And after that, a plaque will also be inaugurated to honor the man who led, Major Shekhawat, who was leading the Jodhpur cavalry, and we remember, of course, the 3 cavalry regiments from India, from Hyderabad, Mysore and Jodhpur. They were a part of the successful campaign, which, as you just mentioned, is considered the last big successful campaign, which was instrumental in the eventual fall of the Ottoman Empire.
Okay, stay with us, Padmaja. We're just coming back to you in a moment, but I want to bring in some military historians to focus on how, and it just seems so difficult to imagine currently, that you'd have a group of soldiers riding on horseback with lancers, spears and swords, taking on the Axis powers, which had artillery, machine guns, and yet somehow winning. These are live images from Haifa. Remember, the heroes of Haifa are legendary in Israel. Unfortunately, very little is known about them here in India. I want to introduce Colonel Divakaran Pillai. He's a research fellow at the IDSA. Is working on a book on Haifa. With us also is Colonel Sodi. He's a former cavalry officer. Remember, all 3 regiments of Jodhpur, Hyderabad and Mysore were combined into the 61st Cavalry, which is now possibly the sole surviving cavalry regiment in the world. I want to go across to Colonel Pillai first, because this is remarkable. This is Indian military history which we ought to be celebrating, cherishing, but so little is known. You know, military officers may know about it, academics like you would know.
इतना तो बहुत है. ये पकड़े.
Okay, Colonel Pillai, explain the significance. You were one of the officers who was instrumental in helping put this visit together. Explain the significance of what we are seeing today.
This battle, the Battle for Haifa, is truly epochal. It's legendary in its, at its very least. Firstly, it's epochal in the sense it has got all the ingredients that is required. It's got religion in it, it's got military raw courage and gallantry, and it had some impact on the outcome of the battle. And also for us personally as Indians, we started officering our own men subsequent to this battle. Now religion, it is also, it's known as the biblical land. Nazareth and Mount Carmel is where the battle took place. And an intelligence officer, British intelligence officer, Major Tudor Pole, reported to Lord Balfour in the Foreign Office in London that the governor of Syria and Palestine, the young Turk called Pasha, was planning to crucify Abdul Baha. Abdul Baha was the son of Baha'u'llah, one of the founders of Baha'i faith. And Baha'i faith, we all know that most beautiful lotus temple that we have here in Delhi. And if anything, the Baha'is offer a way out in today's era of discord, and it has the potential to bridge the differences between all religions. The Baha'i faith recognizes the oneness of mankind, oneness of humanity, and recognize all prophets as one. And if anyone can be a bridge today in this time, I think it's the Baha'i faith. Now the report was sent, and Balfour sent a signal out to Allenby, who was the general in charge of the expeditionary forces, to rescue Abdul Baha and to seize Haifa. And Haifa was significant because already the Allied troops, the Russians had fallen out of the battle because of the revolution that took place, and it was just the Germans, the Austrians and the Turks who were holding on, the Ottomans. And this Haifa provided a vital link, a sea link and a railway line for supporting the Allied troops. So it was important for them. And now he was, because this was an objective definitely, but it didn't really, because of this urgency that was required to rescue Abdul Baha, was going to be crucified, he ordered, and this is a purely Indian Imperial Service Cavalry Brigade, the 15th Imperial Service Cavalry Brigade, which had Hyderabad, Mysore and Jodhpur Lancers, and they were ordered. It was a typical hammer and anvil moment. The Mount Carmel had a slope, it had the Kishon River on the other side, it was a narrow defile. It was impossible. There were 1,500 Turks, Austrian guns and the Germans entrenched in that in beautiful positions, LMGs. It was very easily defensible. There was no way you could have taken. So definitely there was a hand of God. And there, since your mission was to rescue Abdul Baha, you can see that 400 cavalrymen charged up on a thing. It was a hammer and anvil moment. It was like, this is the last of the ever known cavalry charges on a gallop that you captured a well entrenched and well fortified position. The Mysore Lancers did the holding action. The Jodhpur, led by Major Dalpat Singh, who had already got a military cross earlier. He and his orderly had taken on a machine gun position. And here also he took on a machine gun position when he was shot in the back and he died. And Aman Singh, the deputy of the number 2, second in command in the company, though the British residents had ordered its withdrawal, he said there's nothing, no way, you can retreat. And they went on and they took on the Ottomans by surprise, and they took on the whole thing. And then 1,300 people, the Turks capitulated, and then Mysore Lancers went and saved Abdul Baha from captivity.
This is military heroism of the highest order. Colonel Sodhi, as a modern day cavalry officer, what do you make of the heroics of the Mysore Lancers, the Indian cavalry troops involved in the Battle of Haifa? This is legend, this is military legend, but unfortunately, in public imagination at least, a much forgotten military legend.
We in the 61st Cavalry, which formed these various regiments that came to us in 1953, we celebrate this occasion as a really great day for the regiment and for the Indian Army. And we always remember Major Dalpat Singh. He was a squadron commander charging on horseback, and he was followed by his trumpet major, Sher Singh, and they both fell in this battle. One can only visualize this, that a cavalry charging and the major squadron commander leading with his trumpet major following him and the rest of the squadron galloping after him. We celebrate this occasion as a Haifa Day every year in my regiment. On the 23rd of September, every year we celebrate Haifa Day.
Oh, absolutely. This is just something which is so difficult to imagine. You know, you've seen this in Bollywood movies possibly, but you've got in real life, on a real battlefield, a situation where you've got three regiments galloping on horseback. They're taking on the Allied forces with machine guns, with equipment far more devastating than what they had. And yet, these heroes won. Sit back and watch this blow-by-blow account of the heroics of Haifa.
Haifa, a bustling port city in 2017, came under siege 99 years ago. A battle in which the underdog emerged victorious. A feat that's as glorious as any in literature. On the 23rd of September in 1918, a squadron of the Mysore's Maharaja army, the Mysore Lancers, carried out the initial attack on the Austrian artillery battery. Moving forward on horseback with the Jodhpur Lancers, the Mysore Lancers attacked the main German rearguard position and machine guns. The Jodhpur Lancers charged at the Ottoman Empire position, crossing the railway line, but came under intense machine gun and artillery fire. The charge on horseback was further obstructed by quicksand on the riverbanks, so they had to maneuver a detour. Meanwhile, the Jodhpur Lancers continued their charge into the town, surprising the defenders. Mysore Lancers that gave cover fire to the attacking regiment mounted and followed the charge into town. Thus, armed only with swords and lances, the mighty Ottoman Empire with machine guns and artillery beat a hasty retreat in the face of the Indian charge. Bureau Report, India Today.
You know, you just have to look at those images and do the visualization in your head. Colonel Pillai, it just seems so remarkable that you've got these soldiers and officers on horseback. How is it even possible that they would have won? You know, explain what was happening on the battlefield at that time, and how is it that soldiers riding on horseback were able to beat back such modern equipment?
The Jodhpur Lancers, Mysore Lancers and the Hyderabad Lancers which are involved were battle hardened. You know, Indian soldiers are amongst the best in the world. You know, the British Empire, the sun never set on the British Empire because of the efforts of the gallantry, raw courage, you know, since times immemorial. Jodhpur Lancers are called the Jo Hukum, you know, you just give an order, it's executed. There's never a question, never a hesitation in these guys. And it was sheer raw courage, like against entrenched, well entrenched, very easily defensible. Mount Carmel was a slope, there was the Kishon River on the other side, and there was no way, it was a narrow defile. But it's just raw courage, like the charge of the Light Brigade, you've read about it, no? Cannons to the left of them, cannons to the right of them. It It was something like that. It was absolutely raw courage that took the moment. And that is one of the reasons why when, Allenby and the Britishers recognized the fact that Indian men, Indian soldiers led solely by Indian officers can actually win battles for them, because this is a turning point in the history of the battle, because the Turks capitulated completely. The demise of the Ottoman Empire started with this fall of Haifa. And immediately after the World War I was over, the RIMC was started, and Sir Pratap was involved. Sir Pratap was the Colonel-in-Chief of the Jodhpur Lancers, and Sandhurst was open. King Commission was allowed for the British officers. And if you look at it, 25 years later, 30 years later, when we got our independence, we had a 1 million-strong army officered by our own people. So we were actually, in effect, prepared for our independence. So this was a historical battle in many ways.
And Haifa made that possible, because before that, you didn't have officers in the British Army who were Indians.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of these were from the state armies.
State forces.
Of Mysore, of Hyderabad, of Jodhpur. Yeah. But after this, they were able to join the main British Army.
British Army. Through Sandhurst. They got King's Commission. They went to Sandhurst for the training. And then thereafter, we had our own military academy coming up in 1932.
You know, as a avid student of military history and as somebody who really wants to celebrate the heroics of the Indian contingent at Haifa, I wanted to sit back and watch this special report. We've accessed rare archival footage. This is going back, remember, to the First World War, where we reconstruct what happened in the battlefield of Haifa. Here it is.
Captain Aman Singh, Captain Anup Singh, Major Dalpat Singh. They are the brave hearts that Indian school children might not know about, but in Haifa, city of Israel, they are household names. The war they fought on the 23rd of September 1918, known in history as the Battle of Haifa, is considered as one of the bravely contested battles of the First World War. 4 years later, the Teen Murti Memorial was constructed in Delhi, then the capital of British India, in the memory of Indian soldiers from 3 princely states of Jodhpur, Hyderabad and Mysore. They had fought valiantly in the present-day Gaza Strip, Israel and Palestine during the World War I under the flag of the British Indian Army.
It was possibly, if I remember right, the last cavalry charge anywhere on earth against well-defended bunkers of the Turks and various other allies. And the show put up by the Indian 15th Imperial Brigade that fought over there, Mysore Lancers, Hyderabad Lancers and Jodhpur Lancers.
This is one last successful horse cavalry actions. Because one of the main lessons of World War I was that horse cavalry is no longer relevant on the battlefield as a weapon of offense, primarily because of trench warfare, introduction of the machine gun, advances in artillery, and the introduction of barbed wire.
The Israeli port city of Haifa was a strategic supply base because of its rail and sea connectivity. The Allied forces had plans to annex Nazareth and Damascus in present-day Israel and Syria. Haifa was a crucial base to capture in this plan. On the 23rd of September 1918, the 15th Imperial Service Cavalry Brigade, comprising Lancers from the regiments of princely states of Jodhpur and Mysore, inflicted heavy assault on positions held by Ottoman Turks in and around the city of Haifa. The Indian soldiers were armed only with lances and swords, while the Turks had advanced artillery and machine guns. In this last cavalry battle of history, Indian soldiers outsmarted their well-armed opponents with their exemplary valor and cavalry skills.
Haifa के तकरीबन 3-4 किलोमीटर पहले दुश्मन ने एक बहुत अच्छा डिफेंसिव पोजीशन किया है. जोधपुर कैवलरी को ये पोजीशन पर कब्जा करने का काम दिया गया. मैसूर कैवलरी ये कब्जा होने के बाद हैफा पर अटैक करने वाली थी और ये हमला इतना इफेक्टिव हुआ कि पूरी जो दुश्मन की वहां पोजीशन थी वो वहां से भाग गए.
Under the leadership of British General Edmund Allenby, they liberated Haifa from the clutches of the Turkish-German forces. This also marked the end of the 400 years of Turkish control over Haifa.
It should start from us, and then the rest of the world should acknowledge that Indian troops in both world wars sustained heavy casualties. About over 176,000 Indian soldiers were killed in both wars, fighting for truth, justice, and in the fight against fascism.
A memorial to Indians is being maintained so well by the Israelis, who care for what the Indians did over there for their future generations. Over 1 million Indians participated in the First World War. In our country, there is no recognition of that at all, because the underlying feeling is that, oh, that was the British Indian Army. It was not the Indian Army, but the British Indian Army.
A total of 1,350 German and Ottoman prisoners were captured by the two Indian regiments. This also included the confinement of 2 German officers, 35 Ottoman officers, 17 artillery guns and 11 machine guns. On the other hand, Indian casualties amounted to 8 dead and 34 wounded, while 60 horses were killed and another 83 injured.
When my grandfather went to Haifa, he was a squadron commander, and as part of the Battle of Haifa, the Bhavnagar contingent charged the Turkish gun positions on Mount Carmel, and they fought with great bravery and savagery, and for which several awards were won by the contingent.
Within 40 minutes उन्होंने उस डिफाइल को कैप्चर किया. जैसे ही डिफाइल कैप्चर हुई तो दूसरा स्क्वाड्रन जिसकी कमांड कैप्टन अनूप सिंह जी कर रहे थे, उन्होंने राइट टर्न करके और 80-90 गज के दूर एक माउंट के ऊपर 4 मशीन गनें और 2 कैमल गन्स लगी थी, उनको कैप्चर किया. और उसके बाद बाकी स्क्वाड्रन डिफाइल के बाद उनके पीछे पीछे हाइफा शहर के अंदर एंटर कर गए. 1 घंटे के अंदर ये हाइफा की लड़ाई खत्म हो गई.
2 months after the Battle of Haifa, the First World War came to an end. Bureau Report, India Today.